The Guardian has been investigating Facebook and a number of its documents. So their investigation has revealed the internal rule book. So the rule book that contains sex, terrorism, violence, and how they moderate such issues. So according to The Guardian, it says here that they have seen more than 100 internal training manuals, spreadsheets, flowcharts that give unprecedented insight into the blueprints Facebook has used to moderate issues such as violence, hate speech, terrorism, pornography, racism, self-harm. This is such an interesting article. We won't be able to touch on all of it, so we will include the link. Sophie will make sure we include the link. Read it all because it's pretty mind-boggling and it's generating quite the polarizing response, because one side is like, put it all out there because then people can have the conversation about it no matter how destructive the content is, while others are saying that there should be that there should be some checks and balances and Facebook needs to do a better job. Also, according to The Guardian, quote, the documents illustrate difficulties faced by executives scrabbling to react to new challenges such as revenge porn, and the challenges for moderators who they say are overwhelmed by the volume of work, which means they often, this is crazy, they often have just 10 seconds to make a decision. It says Facebook cannot keep control of its content. It's grown too big, too quickly. So let's go over just a few, and then I really want to get your thoughts. So for example, the internal manual that we're talking about, they have it listed almost in bullet points, as in how to manage this abusive content. So we have here remarks such as "someone shoot Trump." They would instruct those moderators, delete that because he is a head of state and he's a protected category. When it comes to someone saying, quote, to snap a bitch's neck, make sure to apply all your pressure to the middle of her throat. You can leave that be. Or fuck off and die, because they are not regarded as credible threats. Videos of violent deaths, while marked as disturbing, do not always have to be deleted because Facebook believes it can help raise awareness. Also, we have photos of non-sexual physical abuse and bullying of children. Those don't have to be deleted unless they are, quote, sadistic or celebratory in their elements. Photos of animal abuse can be shared, but they have to be marked disturbing. Videos of abortion are allowed as long as there's no nudity. Facebook will allow people to live stream attempts of self-harm because they don't want to, quote, censor or punish people in distress. And speaking of nudity, it says here that Facebook has issued new guidelines. This is according to the internal documents, new guidelines on nudity after last year's outcry when it removed an iconic Vietnam War photo. You remember that because the girl in the photo was naked and they removed it. There was an outcry after that. And it now allows for newsworthy exceptions under its terror of war guidelines. But it draws the line of images of child nudity in the context of the Holocaust. So do we think that Facebook should be censoring, or do we think that Facebook's argument here is that they want to have these global talks about these issues?
So it's a technology company, and it's in that kind of engineering, you're trying to essentially draw Venn diagrams of acceptability. So when you say stuff like, you'll see things like generally animal abuse is okay. That's not that they think that it's cool to have animal abuse. They're like, in our setting up of our policy, we're gonna start with a big circle that says animal abuse is okay, because we're gonna start carving stuff out of that. Because we can figure ways in which you can show animal abuse to raise awareness about animal abuse. So if we had a policy that said there is no animal abuse, we would never be able to raise awareness about it.
Which is true. I've seen people go to jail or an outcry to go after those people when they see those videos circulate.
But like
hard to watch,
can think of like the chicken video that Peter released on chicken processing plants. It's like, that's when I stop. So that's an engineer saying, here's how we write that script, or a policy person within a technology company being, this is our process. We say one thing's generally okay because we can't say it's not okay generally. That's why it says it's generally okay. So then we're gonna carve out when it celebrates it, because obviously we don't want people celebrating this and saying, isn't it awesome what they do to chickens? But we do want people to be able to say things like, isn't it awesome, facetiously, to call attention to what the original intent was, which is to raise awareness.
Yeah, and to that degree, Facebook wants to position itself, it wants to remain as a platform where people can share, and it's a free marketplace of ideas. They don't want to be, and I think the Guardian article touches on this, they don't want to be seen as a publisher. And that's why that's why the Venn diagram, I think that's a great example, Brett. They want it to be huge and broad to begin with, because they don't want to be, I'm trying to think, what is a platform that is more of a publisher than a Facebook?
Like Huffington Post.
Huffington Post. They don't want to be seen as a platform that curates its own sort of ideas, and this is how they view the world. They want it to be how you view the world. It's for their users.
And legally, they have to maintain that distinction because there are internet laws dating back to, I forget, like 1990. Yeah, that say.
Should those be updated?
Like yes.
But it's hard
to.
But they have to find a fine point solution that really addresses it as it is in the world, because everything like the linguist, this is what I studied in college. It's called there's a major called symbolic systems, which just says any kind of system like this, you have to set up, what the concepts are and figure, go through cognitive theory. Everything that you think is just like an instinct, they, as a Facebook, have to boil it down to constituent parts and a process that goes along.
Yeah, but it's 10 seconds of time for these moderators.
Right, so that's why they want to automate it. They want to make it as easy as possible. And to do that, they have to have these steps. And those steps have to make sense. And that's what all of this kind of programming is about, is making it so you can just feed it through. That's what artificial intelligence is all about, trying to feed it into something, have it go through some kind of what would just take you a second to really figure out, but they need to program all those steps in so that you do get the intended consequence in the way that you need it to go, because you can get the intended consequence, but if it's gone about weirdly in the middle, then you have a failing system because it won't always sort it the way it needs to be sorted.
Jason, let's get Jason in on the mix.
To piggyback off of what Brett said, they talked about accountability. Facebook not having accountability, but in order to change Facebook, you have to change the law. The Communication Decency Act of 1996 is what you're talking about. For those who don't know what it is,
yes, please.
Because this was really fascinating to me, and it's Article 230, and it says, quote, "No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider." So people are saying that Facebook should be held accountable, but Facebook also wants to remain profitable. So they are a business. They're $400 million worth, $500 million. So they have shareholders who they have to make happy. And by having this content on their website, people are going to click, they're going to see ads, they're going to make revenue. Now that's just a side piece of that. But I mean, I personally think that if I was to log on to Facebook and see a video of a woman who they say, they can have a video of a woman having an abortion as long as there's no nudity shown, I would still be offended by the act itself, regardless of if there's nudity shown or not. So I think
yeah, that's a breakdown. That's where they're getting it wrong, because I mean, look at the law. You can show nudity, but it has, in order for it to be pornography or illicit, it needs to appeal to the prurient interest, which is like you need to be super pervy about it. It needs to do it to show perviness, but a naked statue, that isn't trying to be pervy at all, so that's okay. Them saying that nudity in all its forms is wrong is a failed system.
Well, they've updated that.
Right, so
they have updated that.
And you have you have to give them at least some leeway. And before we move on to Grace,
this is new territory.
A great way to think about Section 230 is to say Facebook wants to be like the phone company and not like your friend who's like calling you. They want to be like if a terrorist calls another terrorist to start a plot, you don't sue the phone company because they have the wires that connect them.
That's a good point.
That's how they want to be seen.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I think that you were talking a little bit about nudity and how we need to like move this law forward, and there's still so much that's sort of a little bit ambiguous with how it's written. And one of those outliers that I thought was really interesting was about pornography and
how revenge porn?
Not revenge porn, but it's pornography where if it is digitally created and it simulates a sex act, that is not acceptable. But if it is handmade art, then that is acceptable. So basically, I want to see as much claymation pornography as you guys are willing to make and put that shit on Facebook, because apparently, according to their terms and services, that is okay. If you can hand make your pornography, you can make a little flip book like they would in the 1920s, then go for it. But don't you dare make that weird Disney digital porn, because that is fucked up, and I agree.
I think Facebook should definitely update
Final
their policies. Oh yeah, Facebook. I'm sorry about that, guys. Facebook should definitely update their policies because there is some heinous shit on Facebook. I mean, when you're watching people commit suicide on Facebook, it's just. I mean, in a perfect world, and not even a perfect world, in the real world, people do. How is that right? How is that acceptable? Why would you want to watch that? And again, Facebook is a business. From a PR standpoint, yes, it would bode well for them to update this and remove this stuff. But if these videos are going to keep getting them clicks and traffic, they're not going to do it.
But it's new ground too, and you think about like the whole digital era, social platforms, and yeah, the law is not even close to matching where we are in 2017 with the evolution of the digital world, and it is scary. So it's new territory. It's the wild, wild west. We have to go. You had one little quick thought?
It's just they have to strike the balance.
Yeah.
And it is happening so fast, and they're trying to do that. They don't want to be that person that is a giant censor, even though the moment that they came up with guidelines, they became the world's biggest censor because they have like 2 billion people using their site every day.
That's true.